Hello and welcome to the Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexi, and today I have a very special guest. I've got Allan Dib with me. Hey, Allan, how you going?
Hey, Alexi, pleasure to be on.
Mate, I'm very thankful for you to find the time to jump on my podcast because one of your books has definitely been one of the most impactful, specifically for my team. And this is something we're going to talk about. And look, Allan is an author of a book called The One-Page Marketing Plan, which I think is huge. If you're in a business, if you have a team of marketers, you must use that. You must read that. Allan also runs a company called Successwise, and I'll get him to talk about that soon. But Allan, tell us about yourself. I mean, how did you get into all this stuff? What's your background, mate?
My background is not from marketing. It's not even from business. I really started my business life as a dead broke IT geek. So I was crawling under desks, connecting computers, and I started my first IT business. And the reason I started studying marketing was just out of necessity. I needed to figure out how do I get clients in the door. And, being a technical sort of brain, I started reading everything, studying everything, attending seminars, and I think we know some of the same people. I started attending some Mal Emery events and things like that. And, to me, this was a solvable problem, because people create this whole aura and hype around marketing, and a lot of it was very conceptual. And I'm very process oriented. I'm from a tech background. I'm like, okay, if we've got a problem with a computer or system or whatever, this is the troubleshooting process. These are the things the steps that we follow. And so I didn't really understand all of these conceptual things, and I needed to figure out, how do I get clients in the door? Because I had a few clients, they loved what I did, they loved the service, but I didn't have enough of them, really. So that took me on a journey to learn marketing, and so I did it through trial and error, through study, through coaches, through all of that sort of stuff, and that ended up scaling and growing that business and exiting it very well. Then started another business. We grew from zero to very, very fast growth and exit a few years later as well. And so now I help people do the same thing. I really take a very simplified approach to the marketing process. I really try to take a lot of the fluff. Basically, my job is really simplifying the complex. So that's what I do now for people, and help them with that specifically in the marketing process.
That's awesome. So you founded a company called Successwise that does exactly that. Is that right? Okay.
That's it. That's exactly right. And we're the way I describe it is we're the opposite of a marketing agency. So a marketing agency will do the stuff for you. And so we will help you develop your own marketing capability. That doesn't mean that you don't use agencies and you don't use external expertise, but it means that the core marketing process is within your team, and then you get outside specialists. So you might get a Google Ads specialist or a Facebook Ads specialist or whatever to help you out, but you need to own the marketing process, and you need to do the basic daily, weekly, monthly. So sometimes marketing agencies have felt like it's competition, but it's not at all. It's a complement, because the worst kind of client for a marketing agency is someone who just abdicates marketing, says, hey, get me more clients. And a great client for a marketing agency is someone who knows who their target market is, knows their messaging, knows what media works for them, has a lead nurturing process, and then they can just plug right into that.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to marketing and sales, where do you find that most businesses actually fail? I mean, you would have worked with quite a number of businesses to say so, but do you find there's a bit of a pattern when it comes to failure?
There are patterns. So, and really, it's that's why I created the one-page marketing plan process, which we systematically address each of the key areas where businesses struggle. So, for example, a lot of businesses, we start the one-page marketing plan with target market, and so if you ask a lot of businesses, tell me about your target market, who is your market, they'll say everyone, right? We're a doctor or a lawyer or we're a web developer or whatever. Everyone needs a website. Everyone needs a doctor. Everyone needs insurance, And so a lot of businesses feel like, hey, if we cast our net wide, we'll get more business. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but you really need to be very, very targeted. So that's where we start, is who are your people? who is your audience? And so the way I think about it is, if we exported all of your customer list into an Excel or Google spreadsheet and we ordered them, and I said, look, sort them by best to worst. Who are your best clients? And who are your worst? You would probably be able to do that. Most businesses would be like, oh yeah, I love working with this type of clients. They're profitable, they pay their bills on time, they don't argue about price, they're easy to work with. And then at the bottom of the list, there'd be clients who will, oh man, this dude is really painful. He always complains about price, never pays on time, always nickel and dime everything. And so what we want to do is we want to focus more on the top 10 or 20% and focus all our energy on there, because typically it's the bad clients that drain all of your energy, all of your time, all of your resources, and you neglect the good clients who are just paying your bills and all of that sort of stuff. So that's where we start. We start with target market, really defining that well.
I think there's a bit of a psychology behind that, because I find just about everywhere, the best customers are the ones who pay better. The worst customers are the ones that don't pay very well. And oftentimes people are just too emotionally attached to those people for whatever reason. Maybe they've been with them for a long time, maybe how they've been referred, but there's more psychology to it. But you're absolutely right. If a business could define exactly who they're after and build that as a profile and target more of the right customers, I think everybody be a lot happier. Awesome.
It also feels weird to like turn away business. And maybe in the beginning, you may take on some suboptimal clients or whatever. But the point is, in our marketing, we've got very limited resources. We've got limited time. We need to get results. So who are we going to focus our resources on? So who are we going to actively go after? So if a suboptimal client comes your way and you need the business or whatever, okay, that's fine. It's your to take it on or not, but who are we going to actively seek out? And you don't have the time, money, or energy to say everyone, because that's mass marketing. That's billboards, that's TV ads, that's like millions of dollars, years and years. And most small businesses just don't have the time, money, and energy to do that.
Well, look, marketing can be fairly complicated if you're going to go across the entire funnel. There's, dozens of various channels that really need to be included, ideally. And obviously you need to consider the customer journeys and so on. I mean, from your perspective, how did you manage to cram down all this complex stuff into a one-page marketing plan? Was that a bit of a challenge? Because, any person starts working on something fairly complex really struggles to let go of some of the key components. How did you manage to crunch it all down into something so concise?
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. And I think that's why the book and the process have been so successful. It's just because, like I said in the beginning, my job is simplifying the complex. That's really what I get paid to do. And so I spend a lot of time, money, and energy trying to figure out, okay, how can we take this complex thing and make it simpler? Because anyone can make something more complex. It doesn't take a lot of skill, but it takes a lot of skill and a lot of thinking to make something simpler, to really boil things down to their key essence. So for me, I didn't just one day come up the one-page marketing plan. It came about as a result of my consulting work, as a result of working with clients, seeing what are the key things that they're struggling with. And if we were to boil down the marketing plan to just a page or two or whatever, what are the key things that we really need? What's the stuff that we can't do without? So what can we strip off, and what can we do? What can we really be the 80-20 or the 64-4, as I have in my book? What are the key things that are really going to make the biggest difference? And so that's what the one-page marketing plan is, and starts with target market. We move through messaging, we move through media. So these are really some of the key components that you really can't do without. And if we've covered the basics, some of the more nuanced and complex things down the track just tend to fall into place and become a lot easier.
Do you find that sometimes the businesses sort of come to you too late when, they've really got a lot of stuff on, and oftentimes it's very hard to help them? Or do you find that the approach is quite versatile and you can really help anyone?
No, you can't help anyone. So again, sometimes people are like, look, this is my final roll of the dice, and I need you to turn my business around. Sometimes that's possible. A lot of times it's not, because, well, first of all, we don't take on, I call that desperate money. I don't like taking on desperate money, because a lot of what we're doing is fundamentals, so we want to get the fundamental things into place. So someone comes to us and says, look, I've got 2 months of runway before I go bankrupt. We don't have a marketing person. We don't have a CRM. We don't have any leads. We don't have any, we're not miracle workers. It's kind of like, I liken it to in the health space, right? So, because most people can understand health, if someone comes to you and they're on death's door, they're terminally ill, and they're like, hey, give me a fitness program that will reverse all the damage I've done over the last 50 years of poor habits. Well, that's probably not going to work. Sometimes miracles do happen, but it's pretty rare. So similar to a health program, hey, we need to get some fundamentals into place. We need to get your nutrition into place. We need to get an exercise program into place. We need to do those regularly. So we need to do the right stuff. But we also need to do it in enough volume. So if you work out once a year, probably not going to be that helpful. If you work out 3 times a week, that's going to be much more helpful. So very, very similar. We have the daily, weekly, monthly. We put in the basics into place. And that takes time, right? To get fit and strong, that takes time. We can't do that in a week. Right. So similar with the whole marketing process, we're going to get the fundamentals into place. We might get them a marketing coordinator. We'll help them recruit that person. We'll help train that person. We'll figure out what are the low-hanging fruit that we need to fix right now. What do we fix later? What are the daily, weekly, monthly processes that we need to put in place? Because that's how we win the game of marketing. And that's really how we win the game of anything, right? Is what are the recurring regular things that we need to do that build that compounding effect?
Yeah, great. Well, look, unfortunately, we do get quite a few people referred to us when it's a little bit too late, and we do try to go for that quick win. But like you said, sometimes it's just too late. And look, I love the whole analogy of a health professional or a doctor, because that whole process, people understand very well. You have to diagnose a problem. You have to be able to come up with a plan. And then from there, you have to really consider all the factors, knowing the critical outcome, which is typically the life of a person. And with a business, it's exactly much the same. So the business coaches I've spent my time with made that very clear to me from that perspective. But also another component to that is being a specialist. If you're seeing a doctor like a GP versus seeing a specialist, you treat the advice very differently. If you're going to go to a GP and they're going to say, hey, yeah, try this, like you don't really have the urge to actually execute. But if you're going to see a specialist where you pay $300-400 for that appointment, you'll listen to every single word and you'll try to execute on the whole thing as well. Which is where I guess I want to ask you more about your book and your business. Has the book helped you sort of position yourself as that specialist? Has that played a role in terms of building up your Successwise business?
Very much so. So this is my second podcast interview that I'm doing today. So literally just got off another one, and we get tons of requests inbound every single day, right? So, and it's very, very different positioning when I'm speaking on stage or I'm asked to be on a podcast or whatever, versus if I had pursued that, if I had been cold calling. And cold calling has a place, and cold outreach is totally fine, and that's part of a marketing process. But it's really, really powerful positioning when you get inbound leads, inbound requests. So requests to speak, requests to be on a podcast, requests to buy your product or program or consulting program or whatever else. So figuring out how to position yourself is a very, very powerful thing when it comes to marketing. So figuring out being that expert, that specialist. And exactly as you said, I went to see a ear specialist the other day. And so everything was done to maximize her time and efficiency and everything like that. So I had to wait a long time to see her. So I got the referral from my doctor. I had to wait a long time, had to book it at a time that she had available. Then I went there and I had to wait 40 minutes to see her after, she was 40 minutes late for the appointment. And then I'm in there for 5 minutes. She has a quick look, has a poke around or whatever. And then that's $300 or $400. So everything is works around her and her schedule, and very much focused on their delivery. And I'm not saying that you need to treat clients like that, but it's a very, very different thing versus you reaching out and asking and begging for business and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, obviously there's a reason why these people are specialists, and genuinely, if they know their stuff, it doesn't actually take them that long to make a difference. And I think without the the cost without that shell, if you like. The whole service sometimes gets missed. But mate, that's a huge topic within itself, and I'm glad the books help you position like that. A couple of weeks ago, we interviewed one of the founders of a business called the Lead Collective, and they basically sell bed sheets. I'm not sure if you come across their business, but their ads are absolutely everywhere. They've done a big free publicity stunt through the morning show and the project. And as a result, they've been able to sort of position themselves at such a high level where they don't even do discounts anymore. They're just basically premium brand and everyone buys their product. So there is Target that sells something for $15 and here's them selling, linen for $300. And I think that's the difference. So for those listeners thinking, how much do I charge? Why do I charge that? You really need to be exploring that further. And I think one of the things I found through your profile, Allan, is that you sort of focus on the whole price side of things quite a lot. So tell us about that. I mean, price is a very illusional component of a business, but for some reason, people just say, hey, I charge this because somebody else charges that. I mean, what's your take on the whole price thing?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have a whole podcast episode just on price. So a lot of people treat price like economists treat price, right? Economists are like, here's the supply, here's the demand, here's where they intersect, and that's the price. And so really only lunatics and economists believe that people behave rationally, right? So that assumes everybody behaves rationally, but people do not behave rationally. So with price, in the downward direction, you're pretty limited. Like you can only go to zero, right? You can only go to free, right? In the upward direction, it's unlimited. And so the other thing is that price is a signal and a positioning tool. So a lot of times if you see products priced differently and you have no other information, you would assume that the higher priced product is a better quality product. So that's it's not necessarily always the case, but that's certainly a signal. But a lot of time, the price is actually part of the actual product. So if a Rolls Royce was selling for the price of a Hyundai, it would not be a Rolls Royce anymore. It would not be attractive to the target market that it's positioned at. So it being at a premium price is part of its story. It's part of what it takes to get it. So price is far, far more than just the intersection of supply and demand. It's really about your target market. It's really about the story that it tells. It's really about what it takes to deliver your product or service. So price is such an important part of your positioning. It's an important part of your marketing process. It's an important part of the story that you tell around your product or service. So it's totally fine to say, look, this service or this product, it's not for everyone. It's for people who appreciate these three qualities or these qualities or whatever problem that you solve for your target market. So very, very different. And a lot of times a product being low priced is actually unattractive to an affluent target market. It's like, look, what's wrong with this? What's the catch?
Absolutely. I think you're spot on, mate. I think the whole idea about price, and sometimes people make it the front of their marketing. And if a client doesn't know anything but the price, and most of the time, let's be honest, they don't know anything about the business, they'll make the entire decision based on that. I work quite a lot with dentists, which is where oftentimes the issue is the receptionist would get a call where someone would say, hey, how much does it cost to, I don't know, get a filling? And the receptionist would go, oh, it'll be like, $300 or $150. And then, okay, thanks very much. Bye. So that's the end of the conversation, because then the person has this information. Now they're going to go and compare you against somebody else. But in reality, that receptionist didn't do any service to the customer because they didn't know who they are, what their problem was, and exactly what they're actually solving. So given that price, as a matter of fact, doesn't solve the problem. And then what also often happens is that if a person does make a decision to go see that business and the problem actually seems to be a lot more complicated, then the person's unhappy because they've been given misleading information. So I actually work a lot with customers like that, where, if someone asks for the price, they can through a process, ask them more about who they are, get to know exactly what their problem is, try to present your business from the whole idea of, what's so convenient about your business? Why should they choose you in the first place? And then the price side of things isn't really about the price. It's more about affordability, which isn't about being the cheapest, but more affordable. Payment plans, options, and so on and so on. So I think, there's so many things to develop from the price, but I like the way that you make it so short and concise. I think it's a true example of how you simplify things, Allan.
Well, the other thing is, let's face it, with most services or products, the actual core deliverable It's probably not vastly different to anybody else. So a filling from one dentist is probably similar to a filling from another dentist in practical terms. But I've been to dentists where I will never go back there ever again, and other dentists where it was a pleasure to be there. So where one place is filthy, always running late, just a terrible experience. Another place feels like a spa, like where I'm coming, amazing service. The place looks great. I'm seen on time. I'm treated well. So it's the moments around the core service or deliverable that really matter for most products or services, because like I said, most products and most services, very few people can truly say they're massively differentiated and completely different to anybody else in the marketplace. If you are, then that's great. That's a huge advantage that you've got. But a lot of times it's the things around your core deliverable that make the biggest difference. And that's where price is massively elastic there. So where you can treat premium clients and charge a premium price.
Yeah, okay. Now, in relation to the one-page marketing plan, are there any plans for like a sequel or a follow-up to that book? Are you planning anything else?
I've literally just finished writing the second follow-up book, so it's going through the editing process right now. But I'm really, really excited about that. I can't reveal title just yet, but it's basically the implementation guide for the one-page marketing plan. It really takes you through what's the minimum viable thing that we can do from a marketing process to really implement it well in our business. So it's kind of like a lot of what we do in our coaching program. So I'm really excited to be able to share that with you. It's looking like the release date will be May. So we've got a long editing cycle, and then we sell it through the book distribution channels and all of that.
Awesome. And I guess the information about the new book will be on your website, successwise.com.
Excellent.
So Allan, I guess what I really like about you, mate, is I can actually relate to a lot of the things that you're doing because in my business, I'm going through a very similar transformation. So in fact, your proof of concept behind your book and your business actually give me a lot of motivation personally, because I've been doing this digital marketing stuff for about 20 years all up. I run a few other businesses, and I'm actually quite inspired, by your selling, improving processes. I am writing a book at the moment myself, which is called The Better Business That Works. This book is with the publishers right now, and hopefully I'll be able to get that all published very soon. There is obviously a few tweaks to it, and as you know, the whole perfectionism is really what slows things down. But mate, in terms of your advice for entrepreneurs, you've done it all. You've built businesses, you've sold businesses, you help businesses grow. What would be the biggest advice for entrepreneurs, people that are doing very similar things to you and I?
So really, what our job as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, is figure out what are the bottlenecks in your business. Because if you had zero bottlenecks in your business right now, you'd be $1 trillion business. So there are some bottlenecks in your business, either delivery, it may be churn is an issue in your business. It could be not enough leads coming in. Most people think that it's a problem with leads, but it's usually not. It could be the sales process. So if your business is not growing as fast as you want it to be growing, there's a bottleneck somewhere in the business, right? So your job as a business leader is to figure out where are the bottlenecks and how do we remove those bottlenecks from the business. So that's one of the first things that I do when I start working with a new client, is figure out, okay, they're at whatever 10 million or 5 million revenue or wherever they are. Here's where they want to get to go. What are the bottlenecks in their business right now? And like I said, a lot of times people feel like it's leads or marketing or whatever, and sometimes it is. But a lot of times we figure out, actually, hang on, your customer lifetime value is only $10,000, and clients are churning after 6 months or 12 months or whatever it is. What if we got that client to stay 5 years? Now, if we've got a $50,000 lifetime value, well, we can spend a lot more to attract those ideal clients. So figuring out where are the bottlenecks right now in the business, where are the leaky buckets, and then fixing a lot of that. So that's where I often start first.
Okay, great. Well, look, we started doing this new section to our podcast called the Rapid Fire. This is where I ask you a pretty simple question, and we just want a really quick answer without thinking too much. So when you're ready, mate, what's your favorite book, mate?
My favorite book at the moment is Systemology by Dave Jennings. So he's a friend. He just lives around the corner from me. We catch up pretty often. So I'm a systems thinker, and so is David. So I'm enjoying that.
Great book. Yeah, I love it myself. In terms of the books that you've read, which one's been the most impactful on your business?
The most impactful, I like Influenced by Robert Cialdini. I recently read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. So Dan's done a really good job with that book as well.
Okay. And who do you reckon is the most inspiring or successful entrepreneur that you've met?
I think probably my early mentor, Mal, which I think you know, Mal Emery. I catch up with him every now and then. So he really inspired a lot of my early success, and seeing him implement and continue to implement those things, very, very inspiring.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you haven't got the one-page marketing plan, please, get it. You can get it on Amazon, and successwise.com's got a link as well. The whole idea of the one-page marketing plan is fairly simple. It's a one-pager. You guys really got to check it out. And if you want to get a hold of Allan, check out his website, successwise.com. And if you got any questions, please comment below or reach out directly. Allan, I really appreciate you finding the time to do this podcast, mate. This is excellent. And mate, I wish you all the best with your ventures, and hopefully next time in Melbourne, we'll catch up for a coffee.
Awesome. Alexi, my pleasure.